Good evening and happy Earth Day. I'm Julie Brown from National Geographic, and I'd like to welcome you to our Great Nature Project Google Hangout. This evening I'm joined by my fellow panelist, Steve Boyce, who's actually coming from South Africa this evening. It's 2 o'clock in the morning there, and we're thrilled that he's woken up to come join us to talk about the Great Nature Project tonight. I'm also joined by my friend and colleague, Rana Zollinger. She was a Grosvenor Teacher Fellow, and she'll be introducing herself in a moment. She's coming from California this evening, as well as Juan Martinez, one of our explorers. And Juan is coming from California as well. So welcome, everybody. I'm thrilled to have a chat with you tonight about the Great Nature Project and specifically the Global Snapshot for Biodiversity. This is a great night to talk about this because it's a way that citizens from all over the world can contribute to citizen science and share what they see in their backyards with the rest of the world. So, Steve, will you please introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about where you are tonight?
Great. Great to be here, guys. Great to be live. It is 2 in the morning here in South Africa. I'm a conservation biologist, obviously working and focusing on Africa. We work in and explore remote wilderness areas, doing biodiversity assessments. My speciality is birds. I love birds, so I'm always looking for them. But I'll invite experts, from herpetologists to botanists to everyone else. I'm passionate about biodiversity.
Thanks, Steve. I'm also a bird nerd. We'll have lots to talk about tonight. Although you're going to know a lot of African birds that I know nothing about, so I'm excited to watch your feed from the Okavango. Rana,
awesome.
Will you tell us about yourself?
Sure. Good evening, everyone, and hi, students who are joining me. Thanks for coming along with this journey. I am a teacher in high school, 9th through 12th grade in Martinez, California, which happens to be the home of John Muir, whose birthday we're celebrating today. And I visited his house today and did a little weeding around the house and in the garden. And I'm excited to tell you about how I get my students involved in citizen science.
Awesome. Thank you, Rana. And so cool about John Muir. Didn't know that about you. And
yeah.
Cool. Hey, Juan, how are you tonight? Will you please introduce yourself to our audience?
Hey everyone, my name is Juan Martinez. I am a National Geographic Emergent Explorer from 2011 and on, and I started off in detention and going to Eco Club, and it turned out to be the best decision of my life because then it just sparked an entire curiosity about biodiversity in this world, and now I focus on making sure that everyone gets an opportunity to have that kind of experience.
I love that. I love that your roots started in detention and led you to the Eco Club. That's so great.
Yeah.
Well, tonight we're going to be talking about the Global Snapshot for Biodiversity, which is part of National Geographic's Great Nature Project. The great part about this project is that it's something that everybody can contribute to, and it's free. You can download the iNaturalist app on at the Google Play Store or on Apple in the Apple Store for your mobile devices. And you can also contribute online at thegreatnatureproject.org. So what are we asking you to contribute? We're asking you to contribute photos of living plants, animals, and fungi during the time period of May 15th to May 25th. I may have said the wrong date. Yes, no, May 15th to May 25th via your mobile devices or the Great Nature Project. And so the reason we're asking you to do this is we're trying to get an idea of what's going on in the world, in everybody's backyards, in your neighborhoods, that you can share and you can look at other people's observations and see what kind of wildlife they're seeing. And one of the best parts about this project, in my perspective, is that you're able to help other people identify organisms that they see, and additionally, you can get help identifying things that you don't know. Now, we are asking you to try to focus on wild organisms, not cultivated organisms, pets, domestic animals of any kind, because really we want to get an inventory of what's happening in the world. We completed a global snapshot a year and a half ago and had great success, and that was kind of our benchmark, and this year we want to take it up another notch. And one of the other really cool things about this project is that scientists all over the world are able to access this data. So, for example, if I'm investigating gray squirrels, I can look in the database through the Great Nature Project or through iNaturalist and use that data that citizens have contributed to find out where they are, where people are seeing them, where they're not seeing them, which is what I think is very interesting, and use that data in their research. So We're going to talk a little bit about tonight about some of the things that Steve's going to be contributing from Africa and some of the really amazing organisms he hopes to see and how some of that information is going to be able to be used for science. So Steve, will you start us off tonight and tell us about what you're going to do on your expedition? In case the audience doesn't know, we're going to show you a little bit about where he's going to be. He's not starting in South Africa, he just happens to be there tonight, and then tell us about who you hope to see while you're there.
Awesome, and it's just really good timing. I mean, our expedition launches on the 16th of May, so it's on the second day of the snapshot, and that first 10 days we're going through a landscape in Angola, central Angola in the highlands, that has been identified as the least surveyed for botanical diversity in the world. So it is an unknown place. We are going to discover new plant species, new reptiles, little frogs. We have no idea what birds are up there. Maybe not new species, but we're going to start the first bird lists up in Angola. Now, our expeditions are on dugout canoes. We do this with local bushmen. We like to use dugout canoes because you can stand up in them and pull them along, which gives us a good vantage point on the edge of the river. Now, we're also using the receding flood. So it's the end of the flood season. There's no more rain. So all of the animals are concentrated back onto the river so we can count them. So we're bringing along it's literally the guys that wrote the books on the wildlife of Southern Africa. These are the top experts that have made themselves available for this up-and-coming snapshot and this expedition. We will be uploading throughout the day. All of our live photo stream coming into Great Nature will almost be live, showing what we are seeing and experiencing in real time. And really excited to share this. I mean, we really don't know what we're going to find during the snapshot. It's the most important time of our expedition. The closer we get to the end point, the Okavango Delta, the more we're going to know about what we're going to find there. We've got a lot of experience working in that system in northern Botswana. But in Angola, we really don't know. And that country is just an unknown for us in biodiversity because of the decades of war and all of the problems in the country that kept people out. So it's a wonderful and unique opportunity to share what we find there and build on that. Hopefully in the future, normal people will be able to go into Angola. The visa restrictions will be lifted, and we can do more citizen science there. We can mobilize more people, and that's what the Great Nature Project's about, is mobilizing citizens to get out there and help us understand what's on the ground, in the wild, in the forest, in that wetland. And that's what we're doing in Angola.
So Steve, do you have any specific organisms that are on your top 10 list of things that you just really want to see that you haven't seen yet? Or besides the Julie Brown bird that you haven't identified yet that you're going to name, do you have anything else?
Oh, Julie. Yeah. I mean, I was asked that question recently when I was in the Okavango, and I don't know. I mean, I'd love to see another pangolin. I'd love to see something new, and I'm sure. I don't know what it is. That's the excitement of going into a forest that you don't know. So it's about discovery, about learning, and I'm in for that. I have no idea, and I'm so excited.
Awesome. So I think we're going to pop up a map now to show where your expedition's going to go. Will you explain to us what we're seeing when we get that up there?
Okay.
I hope.
I can see it starting.
Let's see if
Is that on
put
screen?
That on the big screen. Yeah, I think we need to show up on the big screen. 1 second, it's about to pop up there, I think. Uh-oh.
I can see it on the tiny one, and it is correct.
Okay.
Oh, that's as big as it gets. Okay. The map is showing the starting point there in the Angolan highlands. That's the Bay Plateau. That's the highest point in the catchment. And then it goes down 1,900 kilometers, so just over 1,000 miles, all the way down into Botswana, the end. Now, this is not a normal river system. The river doesn't go into the ocean and form a delta on the floodplains there. This delta goes into the middle of a desert, which has created almost a sanctuary for biodiversity, attracting all of the wildlife in winter, especially to the delta system, this swampy system. But what we're talking about is one of the remotest landscapes in Africa, in the world. And this catchment, what you can see pretty much in that whole image, That is the largest undeveloped river catchment on Earth. No development of any kind, no roads, no dams. The only river that's longer without dams is the Yukon. So an incredibly important place that we don't know much about and really do need to find out more about, and that's what the snapshot's going to be about.
Well, I'm sorry the map didn't come up bigger. It seems like there's some technical difficulties, but
Okay.
I'm really excited about your expedition, and I think that it's kind of one of those iconic National Geographic experiences where you're going into the Okavango. It's one of the pictures we all have seen and thought about through National Geographic, and I wish I was in your suitcase. And I think it's amazing what you're going to share with everybody. And the great part for our viewers out there watching is that as they share it, you can see in our photo feed, our photo stream on the greatnatureproject.org, you'll see his photos coming in within 24 hours or less than that, hopefully real time, depending on how your tech goes. I hope it goes well in the field. So make sure you watch and see all the cool things that he's discovering, Steve's discovering while he's out there. And remember, the Julie Brown bird, I want you to find one for me.
Yes, and to follow us, it's intotheokavango.org. And we call them live data expeditions, and that'll be tied into the snapshots and the Great Nature Project this year.
And their website is, one of the wonderful things about his website is that it has excellent maps and you can really chart what's going on, so make sure you check that out as well. Steve, I'm so excited for you. We're going to get back to you in a minute. And one of the things I don't want to lead our public astray with is that we're not only looking for these faraway places. One of the gifts of working at National Geographic is we get to share things from our explorers like Steve in the field, but all of you can be explorers, and you don't need to be in faraway places. You can go right outside in your backyard. So I'm going to shift over to Rana so she can bring us back down to earth a little bit and take us to what she's going to be doing with her students in California and how you can use this as an engagement tool. Rana, will you tell us a little bit about what your experience has been thus far with the Great Nature Project?
Sure. The only exploring I do is going into a crazy urban classroom with high school kids, which is scary every single day.
Oh, I'm sure they're
No, they're wonderful and they're curious and they're interested in finding out what's on the outdoors, but a lot of kids don't know how to observe. And so just so that you have a frame of reference, I teach 9th through 12th grade, and my focus is on developing environmentally curious kids who have the ability to know and understand the place that they live. And that's one of the most important values that I'm trying to teach them, is the ability to observe what's going on around them, observe the plants and the animals, but as well the people and the landscape and the culture. And so when I come like really excited with my students and I'm like, okay, everyone, let's learn about the place that we live, and they're like, yeah, text message, cell phone, and I'm like, could you put that away, please? You know, could you get, the guest speaker is here. Please don't be rude. Your phone is out. Stop playing that game. I'm saying something important. So now with this cool app, what's happening is I'm like, okay, you guys, we're going outside and we're going to use our phone. So everyone bring a phone. And that has been an amazing opportunity because they're like, what? You don't want me to put it away? And I'm like, no, bring it. So we for the last couple of weeks, we've been going outside, just right outside our classroom door. And I'm like, okay, first of all, download the app. And that takes like a while. And then I'm like, okay, now do the tutorial. And then they're like, okay, now what? And I'm like, just go take pictures of stuff. They're like, that's all? And I'm like, yeah. And then the next day, I go, okay, go back to the pictures and let's see if we can identify them. And then the next day I'm like, okay, now let's try to find the scientific name, and now let's describe this and look it up, and let's use some computers and make sure we connect it to the Great Nature Project. And that's really taken several hours in the last couple weeks, and students have been really excited to get outside, as well as me, because I'm doing something engaging with them and I'm not fighting them. And then the great part is that I'm also teaching them about the plants that are in our neighborhood, the non-natives and then invasives. And then like today when we went out with National Park Service rangers and we went out to a restoration site and we were like picking these wild oats one at a time, and I was like, hey, remember that app we've been using? Let's get that out and let's log in some more data. And they're like, oh, okay, you know, and I didn't have to fight them on putting their phone away, and it was really, really fun. And that's what you can do in school. You know, you can make it interesting in a simple ways, but I also did it with, like, my little 2-year-old friend. We went outside the door, and I was like, Malia, what's the plant that you like today? And she, like, points to it, and then I go, okay, let's take a picture, and she presses the picture, and then she goes in the house after 2 seconds of losing attention. But then I go in, and then I log it in, and I add it to the database. So it's a way for people to do it on their own, at their own speed, on a hike, with your students, with your toddlers. You're going for a little walk. And it's honestly, I've only been experiencing it for the past couple weeks, and it's been fun. I've had no complaints from any of my students, and I've been really enjoying it.
That is so awesome. A couple things to note right now with this is it's important just to make sure we keep children's privacy safe, because one of the cool parts about this particular app is that it's geolocated. So every observation you make is has a point, a geo-reference to the point, which is very important for the scientific validity of the identification. But if your children or the people you're working with are 13 or younger, please make sure that they log in with your ID or a classroom ID so that we can protect their privacy. So it's just an important reminder. I know I use it with my children, and we're having a ton of fun, and I just make all the observations as myself. So just as a heads up for that. And Rana, have you found that are the kids transitioning? Have they gotten to the point yet that I've been working with my kids and students in my local environment with it, and they've started to get really into it and have started to transition into taking photos when they're out and about on the weekends? Have you found an assignment that you've sent them to go explore when they're out at baseball practice, or when they're going on a walk to the metro, or whatever they're doing?
That's my goal. And I think in 2 weeks, having them think about that they had the app and that they could use it in a restoration project was a big deal. But I did, like, you know, I was like, every app you do or every photo you do, I'll give you 1 extra point. And they were like, oh, really?
So you're bribing them.
You know, I'm going to bribe my way into success with them.
Whatever works, Rana. Whatever works. That's awesome. Well, I thank you for sharing your ideas on what's been happening for the past couple weeks. And I think it's been a really good point that you brought up, that there's a little bit of a learning curve with this. We are going to be releasing tutorials that are awesome interns. Shout out to our interns, Lauren and Aaron. If you're out there, you guys did great work. And they made 2 tutorial videos that show you how to use the iNaturalist app on Androids and on Apple products, and they will be live on our website by the end of the week, so tune back in. So if you feel like you're having a hard time with the tech, you'll be able to be walked right through it. You might hear my voice on that, so if you want to hear more of me, tune into that as well. Let's shift on over to Juan. Hi, Juan. How are you tonight? Are you there? Juan?
He looks frozen.
He looks
He's
frozen.
been frozen for a while. I thought he was
I
sleeping.
didn't realize he'd been frozen for a while. All right. Well, then we're not going to chat with Juan yet. So the awesome part about the Great Nature Project that it's a year-round project, and the global snapshot of biodiversity is only for a small period of time. So it's really important and that you get out as soon as possible and start contributing. So get used to it. You can submit it any time, but we really want your observations from May 15th to May 25th. Those are the ones that are going to count towards the global snapshot for biodiversity. So practice and then get out there and start sharing. Juan, are you back?
I am. Sorry about that, guys. Yeah.
Excellent. So Juan, we just heard from Steve and from Rana. I don't know at what point you you froze up there. But Rana told us about how she's been working with students in her class, and Steve told us about all the amazing things he's going to be sharing with us from Africa. Can you tell us a little bit about how people in urban environments or in less expected places to see life can really contribute, and how that might change their perspective?
Yeah, so I was lucky enough to have a teacher like Rana early on, Ms. Glenda Pepin, that saw the beauty of biodiversity all across us, even when I didn't see it myself. So I would be that kid in the back of the classroom just kind of hanging out and trying to make the time pass by. And she gave me an opportunity to go out to the garden and start growing. What I didn't realize is that they tricked me. Then I started to worry about photosynthesis, about the pH balance, and then all of a sudden these things that were in a book made sense because I was actually applying them. And that has led me into this amazing career about figuring out what the interaction is between urban communities and the natural world and the biodiversity that's in there. LA is considered one of the biodiversity urban hotspot. And you look at the amazing things that are everywhere in LA. In Griffith Park, the largest urban natural park in the United States, is home to P22, the mountain lion that Steve Winter photographed. In the middle of the city, there's this live mountain lion hanging out. The Santa Monica Mountains, the National Park Service, has an office in downtown LA, and they're about to celebrate 100 years of national parks. And what better way than to do it by being a part of iNaturalist and doing a global snapshot with them. And so I'm super excited about iNaturalist because and the snapshot, because you can walk down the corner of your own house and know that you're in the wild, and it's not as wild as Steve out there in Africa, but it can be just as significant a discovery as what Steve is doing. So, for example, one of the observations that I made was the California golden poppy. We had a heat wave come through California that, for the most part, kind of made the flower season short. Very short of what it's used to. So by the time I came across to this California golden poppy, this small little patch of California golden poppies that were under a freeway on the Arroyo Seco in the middle of LA, it was freaking awesome. Like, here were these little resilient little flowers that made it through the heat wave that cut the lifetime of the other flowers short. So that in itself was amazing to me, and to see the power that anybody, even you can be a National Geographic explorer. If you're looking at this, I mean, I grew up never in my wildest dream thinking that I was going to be a National Geographic explorer, yet here I am. And it's all due because there's this passion, there's this excitement to figure out how our boundaries go beyond each other and the global atmosphere, but also the interconnection between those things. Like, how are we connecting with each other? How are we as a community connecting with the natural world? And I think that's the great thing about the Great Nature Project, that it allows us all to come together as community and say, this is important to us. Biodiversity matters. Whether we're in Africa doing an expedition, or we're up in Martinez, or we're in South LA, it matters to everyone.
Fantastic. So I think one of the keys that I heard from there, it's really the spark. It's the spark of engagement and really working collectively as a community to have something that you're working towards. Now, I heard from somebody in our audience that they think this might be something that their national park is interested in contributing to. And the good news is, awesome, we would love that. There are Bioblitz is going on all over the country, especially the National Geographic and the National Park Service Bioblitz is happening in Volcanoes National Park during the Global Snapshot, which is amazing, and no, I'm not going to be there. I will be at National Geographic headquarters supporting you all as you contribute to the snapshot, but we have a toolkit for the use with flyers and images and pop-up banners they can print that they can use to publicize this in your national park. So if you want to hold your own Bioblitz, we also have Bioblitz information. Now, a Bioblitz, just in case you don't know, is a 24-hour inventory of a location. So usually they start around noon, and then they end the following day at noon. So people are out observing a specific area at a specific time and observing all of the wildlife that they can observe in that given time, plants and fungi as well. And so everything that is contributed via iNaturalist during the Global Snapshot will be captured and count towards the Global Snapshot of Biodiversity. So get outside, share with everybody you know, share the app, use the apps, check out the website. And one other thing that's coming is some learning missions. We're trying out some learning missions to use with younger minds. So, for example, with my kids who are 6 and 8, there's a learning mission I posted next week on the Great Nature Project page. And It is a food web exploration, and it has ideas of pictures. It kind of sends kids on treasure hunts looking for specific things, because sometimes it's hard just to take pictures of things and not be excited about it, but this is a way you can get kids into it. So you ask them to go take a picture of a plant, and then you ask them to take a picture of an animal that eats a plant, and then a picture of an animal that eats another animal, and then maybe an animal that eats both plants and animals. So it goes through and it gives ideas, and then it also has engagement discussion topics for a parent to have, or a teacher to have, or an informal educator to have with whoever's doing that project. And at the end, it has a culminating project of an art project drawing the food web or the food chain that you've observed. And sometimes these missions will take more than one day. And one of the things I love about this project is you can do it for 3 minutes. I take pictures when I'm walking to the metro in the morning. In my half-a-mile walk, I take pictures and then I upload them later on in the day. And that reminds me, if you're like Steve and you are out and about in the Okavango and you don't necessarily have internet connectivity, the app still works on your phone even when you don't have connectivity. When you get to a place where you have reliable Wi-Fi, you can sync your photos. So that's what's going to be going on in Hawaii National Park, because there's no Wi-Fi at the top of the mountain. So there's a lot of great reasons to use it, and it's super friendly and easy to use. Another question that has come in is about our relationship with iNaturalist. And so we have a very close relationship with iNaturalist. They have an incredible product. We believe in what they do, and we are one of the projects within that community. And so one of the great parts about the iNaturalist community is there are a lot of people there who will support identification help, and they will they'll also want to receive identification help. It's also a two-way street. And since they already had an established community, then we wanted to tap into what was already good and working. So we support their app, and we want you to use it and use it, the Great Nature Project. So it's a really great relationship. So tell me, Rana, now that you've heard about this mission, these missions that are coming this way, there's also a life cycle butterfly mission. Do you think that this might work for you and your students?
Of course it would work for my students. And one of the things that my students do is go to elementary schools and teach about biodiversity and recycling and watershed quality. And I think that it could be something that they could also teach the younger kids when they're mentoring in their projects. And using the food web as well. And then they would get other teachers excited and then other parents excited, and it could be passed on with their enthusiasm.
Awesome. So Rana, since I have you on the screen, will you tell us a little bit about one of your observations? It looks like our photo stream's working now. So will you tell us about what we're looking at? One of the photo observations you made? It's showing big for everybody else.
I couldn't hear that part, but I'm going to tell you what I did with my students. We went out into our garden, and I had them take pictures of anything they wanted to, but then I had them also be very specific about native plants as a way to learn what they saw. So I'm not exactly sure what was posted because I gave my phone to my students. And they uploaded from my account when they didn't have their own account.
Awesome. I love that. So you're going to have to go in and check out the observation.
Yes, because I can't guarantee that I didn't write that.
Well, that's one of the good things about the iNaturalist community is that if somebody doesn't identify something properly, then somebody else, you can actually click on a button that says Need ID Help, and then somebody else will hopefully come along and help identify it properly. And so if you identified it inaccurately, you can agree with the person's proper identification. And if there's two agreements, then it becomes research grade, which means that people can use it, scientists can use it, which is pretty terrific. Mm-hmm. What about you, Juan? I think we're going to show a couple of your pictures now.
Oh, that's the alligator lizard, which was pretty cool. My wife and I were hiking in the back of our house in this little trail, and we ran into a little wash where in it was she found this lizard that was upside down, and we think it drowned with the rains that came in the day before in this little pool. But I've never seen an alligator lizard before, and they look like alligators from up close. But it was about 11 inches long, which was pretty long for a lizard in itself. And I don't think I would have taken the time to figure out. I just left it at lizard, and that was pretty cool. But because of iNaturalist, I actually got to go in there and look up the guides and figure out, like, oh wow, this is an alligator lizard, which is pretty cool. I never even knew about that that's what they were named.
That's a really cool point you just brought up. That with that point is that on iNaturalist you can actually make field guides for your area. So if you are hosting some sort of a walk to contribute to the Global Snapshot or a Bioblitz, you can actually go through the inventory for your area and create a boundary of the area you're going to be inventorying, and you could actually create your own field guides. So if you really want to get engaged, you should check that out as well, because it's a really good way to bring up the species you're most likely to see in your area. So speaking of that, Steve, as a expert, what would you say is one of your best? I'm a bird nerd. I don't know anything about wildflowers, so I rely on iNaturalist to help me with wildflowers because I'm trying to learn about them. What would you say that you would be able to help people with identifications for as an expert, and the importance of experts and people who have specialties contributing by helping with identifications?
Absolutely, it's really important. I mean, I could definitely help with global birds. I'm very familiar with birds around the world. It won't take me long to find out once I'm looking at something what it is. But as Juan has been saying, I mean, experts are only really part of it. I mean, this is a new age of exploration. Getting people out there to find out the what and the where, which is the most important. So it doesn't have to be in the Okavango Delta. It can be in your backyard, as you guys have been saying. So it's this ongoing engagement. As an expert, yes, I will be watching out on the bird feed and trying to help as much as I can.
Fantastic. Well, we're not going to show photos from you yet because your expedition hasn't started, but please do stay tuned to see what Steve sees. I know I'm going to be watching. I am very thrilled to have spent the evening with you all talking about the Global Snapshot for Biodiversity. Remember to download the apps from the Apple Store and the Android Store, or to contribute your photos at the Great Nature Project. We're looking for living things, although I think your alligator lizard was super cool. I don't want to see it. So please make sure that you're contributing living things and hopefully native things. If you don't know, take a picture, and hopefully an expert will help you. Also contribute by sharing your expertise and helping identify things. This is something we can do together as a global community, and I think Earth Day is the perfect day to discuss it. We're thrilled to be hosting this amazing program at National Geographic, and we're thrilled to hopefully have all of you as new users of the program and the products. And again, it's free. Get out there, get to your local park, work with your local school children. Like Rana said, use the older kids to work with mentors for the younger kids. You get out there and explore, especially because this is happening over Memorial Day weekend. I know a lot of you are going to be outside enjoying the sun with your sunscreen on. And make sure that you take pictures and share them with us. I want to see what you're doing, and it can be in your backyard. So please join us for the Great Nature Project Global Snapshot of Biodiversity. Once again, it's from May 15th to May 25th. And thank you for joining us on Earth Day evening. And I want to give a special thanks to all of our panelists, Steve, Rana, and Juan. And Steve, I think it's time for you to go to bed, man.
Go back to bed, yes.
Shout out to natural leaders.
Yeah.
Ahoy.
The biodiversity dance. There's a shout out.
All right. Fellows, see you later.
All right,
Cool,
thank you,
thanks.
everybody.
Go spot some species, find some animals.
Get out
Thanks so
there.
much.
Get
All right, good night,
outdoors.
everybody. Happy Earth Day.
Night. Night.